Hello friends, welcome to this session on understanding communication. We know communication as verbal, non-verbal and written forms. Well, today in this session we are going to explore the verbal form of communication. Some people also refer to it as the oral communication. The objective is to appreciate the nuances, and we shall also reflect on the channels of communication and the task associated with it. When we talk about verbal or oral communication, the first thing which comes to our mind is interpersonal communication. What is interpersonal communication? Why is it important to learn interpersonal communication? When does it happen? Interpersonal communication happens when two or at the max 3 people communicate. It has to be a core group. Why? Because it has uniqueness associated with it. You do not go with your problems to anybody and everybody. You seek that person out, and therefore there is an interdependence. That person may retreat back and come with a feedback which is not personal, because he knows you very well, so he can explore other dimensions. And that is why it is extremely important to know how to communicate within that core group. It could be work-oriented, it could be personal. So uniqueness, indispensable, interdependence, impersonal, work-oriented are the characteristics of interpersonal communication. Then we have small group. The unique feature of the small group communication is that it could take sides, it could form coalition, it could be a troublemaker, or it could be the creative group which makes a foray into so many things. It may oppose, it may exert pressure, but it encourages creativity. So this small group could be maybe 5 to 7 to 8 people, a small get-together. Post that, we have group conversation, in which we have meetings, conferences, seminars, presentations, and public speeches. When we talk about group conversation, certain etiquettes, certain ground rules come into play. Why? Always remember, whenever you indulge in group communication, there are chances that minutes would be recorded. There are chances that documents would be made. Take it for negotiation, for seminars, conferences. You're reading a paper out there. You are putting your views out there, which would be documented for later references. So we have some set rules for group conversation. So we have explored interpersonal, we talked about small group, and now we are at group conversation. That's something really smart written out there. How to be a smart conversationalist. Don't be a narcissist. It should not be you who's holding the communication or conversation all the time, because then it is a one-sided communication. Or it is not a communication altogether. Maybe people may have fallen off to sleep or fallen out of league. And therefore, unless and until it is a mass communication. So always give chance for feedback, leave chance for feedback. Now, this is interesting, the grapevine. What is a grapevine? Have you been to a vineyard? It just spreads in all direction. The rumors. And something very interesting comes out. We normally say it is not controlled by the management, it is perceived more believable than formal communication, and it serves self-interest. But don't be waylaid. Today, even the management makes use of the grapevine. Let us suppose if it wants to test waters with one of the changes it wishes to introduce. So what it may do? It might just plant it as a rumor and see the reaction. If the reaction is favorable, they might go ahead with the change. So although grapevine is a part of informal communication, informal verbal communication, yet be aware of this kind of communication. Public communications are less interactive, and we do not expect a feedback then and there. The feedback may come in the form of social media, on social platforms. What is mass communication? It could be recorded or live. In fact, we are perhaps a part of mass communication. I am trying to interact with you with a medium of mass communication. So it could be instant messaging, video conferencing, radio, television. This brings us to the do's and don'ts of communication. We saw that, when we talk about communication, it is not mere communication. Whether we are speaking with one person or it is a mass communication. In order to be effective, we need to follow certain rules. We need to follow certain etiquette, certain behavioral pattern in order to be effective. So what are the do's and don'ts of forms of communication? Well, create interest and invite. Allow the conversation to grow when you are in interpersonal communication, when you are in small group conversation or group communication. Avoid slang. Choose new areas. Avoid disagreement. But what I think is extremely important is be sensitive and courteous. I would like to bring into effect the fact that you are definitely dealing with ideas in communication, but many a times what a person may be going through, his emotional stress, should also be taken into consideration. So when you are talking, especially in small group communication and interpersonal communication, you should be more adaptive to the situation and be ready to listen. Be attentive, avoid personal questions, and be logical. These are some of the do's and don'ts of formal communication. Important aspects: audience, content, flexibility and understanding. You must always seek clarification if you have not understood something while participating in a corporate discussion, in a corporate meeting, if you're attending negotiations, conferences, seminars, because otherwise the time you have invested in that goes a waste. Channels of communication. Well, what is it about vertically downward, vertically upward, lateral communication? Let's take a look. This is the organizational chart. You have the board of directors at the top. Then you have finance, marketing, production, and then the finance officer, marketing assistants, and operatives. So finance, marketing, production, these are the three departments. So they are in the lateral zone, and they cannot be, any job assignment. They can always share the jobs. They cannot order at a lateral platform. So when it is an upward channel, normally these are the things which are taken care of. It conveys information regarding employee satisfaction, productivity, problems, expectations, perceptions, and viewpoints of subordinates. In downward channel, your expectations, policy and procedure, job instruction, job rationale, feedback, and indoctrination would be taken care of. What happens in lateral and horizontal channel? This would involve task coordination, problem solving, sharing information, and conflict resolution. It does not have task assignment. So you cannot instruct at a lateral platform. You can only request at a lateral platform. Always bear that in mind. Well, friends, I hope you have by now understood the various kinds of verbal communication that we indulge in. So here, through this PPT, we have tried to explore the forms of verbal communication, their nuances, channels of communication, and the task associated with them. I hope this would make life a little easy for you all when you join in the corporate world. Thank you very much. Have a pleasant time.